Trigonometry, Pythagoras theorem, lecture number 1. Now you need to understand this, that Pythagoras theorem is linked with triangles. But what type of triangle it is linked with? It is linked with triangle. What type of triangle? Right angled triangle. Now, when we talk about right angled triangle, that means we talk about 90-degree. That means when horizontal line meets the vertical line. When horizontal line meets the vertical line. Remember this, that side opposite to 90-degree is hypotenuse. Side opposite to 90 degrees hypotenuse, whereas let's take this A, B, and C. When we talk about the two sides, these two sides can be referred as adjacent or they can be referred as perpendicular when we are using Pythagoras theorem. Now it has generally a formula, that is hypotenuse square is equal to adjacent square plus perpendicular square. Now, if one side is adjacent, the other side would definitely be perpendicular, which means generally for adjacent, we can always use base as well. Now, for hypotenuse, we can consider this as, let's say, AC square. We can take this thing down as AB square plus BC square using the information given in the right angle triangle. So if I need to find out AC, this should be under root AB square plus BC square. Under root AB square plus BC square. Similarly, if we just want to have BC, so this should be AC square minus AB square, and this should have been what? Under root, because BC square goes on the other side, becomes the under root. Or we could also have AB in this. So AB would have been AC square minus BC square, and the square on AB becomes the under root on the other side. So there are generally three things that can be taken out. It can be taken out as AB, it can be taken out as AC, or it can be taken out as BC. But what more important thing here is that in right angle triangle, when we have to use Pythagoras theorem, right angle triangle, this can only be used, that means Pythagoras theorem can only be used when we have two sides given and third one to be found out. When two sides are given and the third needs to be found out, then Pythagoras theorem is used. Now let's just go for the example. Let's say we have a right angle triangle in this. We have a right angle triangle. This is A, B, and C. Let's take AB as 4 and BC as 3. So now we know that number one, it's a right angle triangle. Number two, two sides are given. We need to find out the third side. When two sides is given and we need to find the third side, then that means this can be used as AC square, because AC is hypotenuse, whereas we can use AB square AB can be base or adjacent, plus it can be BC square, and BC can be taken as what? Perpendicular square. So we need to find AC square, whereas AB is 4 square plus 3 square. AC will be 16 plus 9, and this will be under root. So AC will be under root 25, which means your answer for this would be 5. So your hypotenuse here is 5. Now, knowing the fact that since AC is 5, there can be a question where you could be given the right angle triangle and hypotenuse can be 5 because this is opposite to what? 90 degree, and the other side can be 3. So if you want to find out, let's say this is A, B, and C, and in this we need to find out AB. So hypotenuse square is equal to adjacent square plus perpendicular square. So this should be 5 square plus AB square plus 3 square. 25 minus 9, because 5 square is 25, 3 square is 9, 3 goes on the other side, becomes negative. You're left with what? AB square. This would be 16 AB square, and obviously under root 16 is 4. So AB will be 4. So that means in both ways, your two sides will be given, and you will need to find out the third side in Pythagoras theorem. Now, you need to understand that when we are doing Pythagoras theorem, there are type of different questions that are tested. Now, let's work upon, if the question says, find the suitable value of x for the right angled triangle. And the question would have been, there would have been right angle triangle with 90 degree, because without 90 degree there cannot be right angle triangle. And knowing this, let's just have the sides as 3x plus 3. Your hypotenuse is 6x because it is opposite to 90 degree. And the third side would be 5x minus 1. So now the values that are given are basically given in the algebraic form, and you need to find out the value of x. Now, knowing this, that you have been given all the three sides of the right angle triangle, and you have been given that this shows that it is a right angle triangle, and you have been given all the values. So using Pythagoras theorem, this should be hypotenuse square is equal to what? Adjacent square plus perpendicular square, or we can always use that as base square plus perpendicular square. This can be what? 6x square, considering 3x plus 3 whole square, and perpendicular should be 5x minus 1. Now the entire concept of algebra, is considered here, because you need to know the possibilities of a plus b whole square, which is a square plus 2ab plus b square. And on the other hand, there can be a possibility of a minus b whole square as an identity 2. So this is a square minus 2ab plus b square. So in this particular question, your identities are used as well. Now, the question says 6x square is your hypotenuse. Adjacent is 3x plus 3 whole square, because it is there in the formula. 5x minus 1 whole square, because whole square is in the formula. So let's just open this up. This should be 36x square. 6 square is 36, x square is x square. This should be 9x square. 2 threes are becomes 6, 6 threes are becomes 18x because it is 2ab. And this should be 3 square is 9. If you have any issues opening up 3x plus 3 whole square, then you should link yourself towards the algebra identity. Then moving on, if we have 5x, this should be 25x square, whereas minus 10x plus 1. Now, since we have opened this thing entirely, so we have 36x square, let's just have negative 25x square and negative 9x square. Because on both 9x square, that is positive, plus 25x square, which is positive, both will go on the other side, become what? Negative. Whereas we have 18x and minus 10x. 18x minus 10x will become 18x and minus 10x becomes 8x. 8x from this side, if goes on that side, becomes what? Negative 8x. So we don't have any other value of x, only these two values are there. So 18x minus 10x becomes 8x. 8x on the other side becomes negative 8x. So this will be negative 8x on this side. Whereas if you note that we have 9 and 9 plus 1, we have 10. 9. 9 plus 1, we have 10. We have only two numbers that are constant. So this will go on the other side, become positive, considering the same thing. So 9 plus 1, this will be on the other side, become negative, that is negative 10, and the value will be equal to 0. So your answer 25x square minus 9x square. So this should be 25, 36 x square minus 34x square minus 8x minus 10 equal to 0. This should be 2x square minus 8x minus 10 equal to 0. If we just simplify that, taking out 2 from each of the number, this should be divided by 2, right? If I divide by 2 on the left hand side, I can divide by 2 on the right hand side. We are left with 2x square minus 4x minus 5 is equal to 0. So if we just use the middle term breaking here, x square minus 5x plus x minus 5 is equal to 0. Because the factors would be minus 5, x minus 5 plus 1, x minus 5 is equal to 0. So now you know that there are two answers to this. One is x plus 1 equal to 0 and the other one is x minus 5 is equal to 0. The answer to this would be x is equal to minus 1 and x is equal to 5. So this type of question is the algebraic form of Pythagoras theorem that can be tested in the paper, and it has been tested at various occasions. The examiner has tested the algebraic form of Pythagoras theorem as well. Now moving on to another type of question that can be tested by the examiner, and this is not commonly used, and that says that find the unknown length. Find the unknown length. And the question can clearly say, give you answer to 3 significant figure or any value to 1 decimal place. That depends upon question to question. So if I just draw the diagram would be there to help you out to understand what side to be calculated. So now we have the shape that is there. Now in this shape, we know that this is x, this is 90 degree, this is x, this is 25 centimeter, and this becomes 24 centimeter. This side becomes 4 centimeter, and this becomes y. So that means there are two variables that you need to find out. Now, the examiner will definitely tell you which one to find out first, but even if the examiner is not clear about which one to find out, then the information that is there in the question will help you out. Now, you have been given two right angle triangles in the question. You have been given two right angle triangles in the question. If I get x, my value of x will help me out to find out value of y. But considering this, you need to find out x first, and x is also in the right angle triangle, because if this side is right angle triangle, considering that this is your straight line, and straight line creates what? Angle of 180 degree. Straight line at point, it creates the angle of 180 degree. If this is 90 degrees, so this side should also be 90 degrees. So it creates a right angle triangle here. It creates a right angle triangle. So when right angle triangle is there, opposite to 90 degrees hypotenuse, let's say this is adjacent given, and perpendicular is missing. Perpendicular is missing. So let's just write down the formula. So to find out x, hypotenuse square is equal to adjacent square plus perpendicular square. Now, this means this is 25 square, 24 square plus x square. 25, value of the 25 square is 625. And the value of 24 square is 576. So plus x square. Now, such question will always want you, the examiner will always want you to use calculator. So this is 625 minus 576, x square on the other side. So 625 minus 576, your value will be 49, which means x is square. Now, you need to find a value of x. Obviously, you can always have under root 49 because square changes to the under root. So value of x becomes what? 7. Now, obviously, you'll have plus 7 because your length will not be in negative. Now, knowing the fact that your x is 7, so now we can write down x as 7 here, right? Now, since we know this is a right angle triangle as well, and right angle triangle, two sides are given. One is 4, the other one we just found out that is 7. Now, what is required? Hypotenuse is required, and hypotenuse basically was missing in the initial phase. So, can we just say that the formula remains same again? This is hypotenuse square is equal to adjacent square plus perpendicular square. Now, hypotenuse was missing, this becomes y square. Adjacent is 4 square plus perpendicular is 7 square. So this would be y square is equal to 4 square becomes 16 plus 7 square becomes 49 again. So 49, this becomes y square as 65. Y square as 65. Y will be under root 65. The answer for y will be under root 65. You can leave your answer as y is equal to, but the question, if the question says give you answer correct to 3 significant figure, then y under root 65 in the calculator will be 8.06 will be the answer for under root 65 in 3 significant figures. So value of x is 7, whereas the value of y becomes 8.06. Now, this is another type of question that is tested by the examiner for what? Pythagoras theorem. That means there can be two lengths to be found out and the two shapes using the right angle triangle. Let's just do another type of question here. we see that we need to have what? We need to find x, and this is your x here. And we have been given 1.8, we have been given 2, and the other side is 0.9. So if you see that to find out this x, we can always create a line from here horizontally, and this horizontal line will be of what 2 meter, which is here, right? On the other hand, if you see to your left side is 1.8 for this entire line. But on the other hand, if you see that this side is 0.9 for this part only. So what we need to do is we need to subtract 1.9 with what 0.9 to have the answer for this part only. And the answer 1.8 minus 0.9 is 0.9. So that means if we just create for the solution, if we just create a line which is horizontal to the base which is given, so this point will also create a 90-degree. And knowing the fact that this is 2 meter and this should be 0.9 as well, because 1.8 was for the entire line and 0.9 was for the right hand side. We subtracted, we get what? 0.9. So to find out x, now we have the values, which means hypotenuse square is equal to what? Adjacent square plus perpendicular square, or the base square can be considered. The usage of adjacent is because we'll be using in the trigonometrics as well, trigonometric ratio. Now, hypotenuse is x square, adjacent is 2. Let's just say 2, and this will be square, whereas perpendicular would be 0.9 square. And this should be x square is 4 plus 0.9 square value is 0.81. So your 4.81 under root will be 2.19. So value for x is 2.19. So this is your answer for the part that we did using what? The values. Subtracting the values, we use what? Pythagoras theorem. Now, in the same part, you can see that there's another type of question. Now, this question is majorly based upon mensuration topic, which involves the cone. Now, the x here is basically your slant height. The x here is basically the slant height, but you should know that the height, that is 8, meets the radius. It creates a 90-degree always. So, if we need to find out right angle triangle, the slant height, which is x. So hypotenuse square is equal to again adjacent square, which is also basis square, plus perpendicular square. So this should be x square. Adjacent is 6 square plus 8 square. So this should be x under root 36 plus 64, which is 100. So x under root 100 should be 10. So the value of the slant height is 10. Now, why is the slant height important? Because sometime in the question, you'll be studying more on the mensuration topic. You'll be asked to find out curved surface area for which your pi r L is used. Pi r L. Now, that L is basically your slant height, and the slant height is this height which is represented by x at this time. So curved surface area for cone is always pi r square. But at the moment, since we had to use the Pythagoras theorem to find out the value, always whenever you have cone, you will be given height, you will be given radius, and you will need to find out the slant height, or the other values might be given. The two values can be given, and you need to find out the third side. But remember this, in cone, even to find out height, radius, or the slant height, Pythagoras theorem is used.